The Black Ops 6 beta has just dropped today. We've got 10 movement guides to help you guys go from a bot to a pro. We have 10 movements that you guys are going to use in the beta, practice them, getting ready for the real game. The first movement's going to be very simple. It's just going to be the standard drop shot. You guys know the drill with the drop shot. Literally, as you go around corners, as you're approaching opponents, all I want you guys to do is press the prone button, okay? We're going to start off with some simple ones. As we proceed, we'll go to more advanced ones. The drop shot, I want to test it out just like the last, 15 Call of Duty. It's still a staple, still very easy to use, very efficient. And all I want you to do, one quick tip, is when you drop shot, move your crosshair slightly higher, okay? So you want your centering to always be around the chest area. So when you drop shot, when you're going around the map, make sure to move your crosshair a bit higher so that it compensates, because when you go low, when you go on the floor, your crosshair, your centering is going to be really low. So if you can move it a little bit higher, it will just basically drag it up and make it easier to get those kills and overall get more headshots. Make sure you guys utilize this. Very, very important. The next one's going to be the standard jump shot. Once again, very, very easy. For this one, I guess the biggest tip I have is make sure your controller setting, make sure that you have the right equipment. If you guys have a standard controller, I do recommend going on either stick and move or bumper jumper, just making it a little bit easier. You want to make sure that when you're jumping in the gunfight, you're also able to move your right stick to get your aim across. That's probably the biggest thing. Whenever I'm coaching people, that's the biggest thing they have difficulty with. When you guys have normal controllers, you find it hard to jump and move your right stick, so make sure to do that. If you guys are on claw or scuff, you guys know the drill. You don't need to adjust it, just kind of carry on doing what you're doing. And yeah, when you're jumping, just like with the drop shot, you want to create your centering, okay? So with the drop shot, we said move your crosshair a little bit higher to compensate. With a jump shot, exact opposite. We want to move our crosshair slightly down, okay? So whenever you're jump shotting, make sure to move your crosshair slightly down so that when you're shooting the opponents, you're basically locking onto their chest and their head, so you have maximum damage every single time. Movement number 3 is going to be jumping backwards, just like last year. This one's really important. The biggest tip I have for this is just creating space. You want to use this when you're in situations where maybe you slide around a corner or you're right next to an opponent and you want to create a bit more space for yourself just so you can track a bit more shots. Or if you want to maybe jump into cover, jumping backwards is very, very important. And the reason why I think it's so good is because some people don't really expect it. So when you're in a gunfight, they expect you to either go forward or stay where you are. So jumping backwards just allows you to create a little bit more space, which is very, very useful, especially in gunfights when you're around a corner, nowhere to go. Jump a bit backwards, create some space for yourself, and then you can make your next decision. Tip number 4, this is going to be jumping sideways. So once again, the first few tips are going to be very basic, just kind of basic things we can use, and then later on we'll go into some more omni movement stuff. But before you guys master omni movement, we need to go through the basics. Jumping sideways in gunfight, I think this one's a lot better than the tip number like 2 and 3, just because when you're in a gunfight, if you can jump left or right, once again, it's going to be harder for them to track you. Really, really effective stuff. Let's just say you're in a 1v1 gunfight, right? And you jump at a standard jump shot. It's obviously good, right? It's better than standing still. But the problem is if they, if they have good centering, they're going to be able to kill you. But if you were to jump left or to jump right, they're going to have to react to your movement, and it makes it a lot harder for them. Another thing I like to do is I like to jump sideways into cover, and it allows me to just kind of regen for a second, make a decision. If I feel like I got more health, then I'll re-challenge them. If I feel like they have more health, I can kind of back away. So make sure in gunfights, not only are you jumping, like tip number 2, standard jump shot, but make sure you're implementing the jumping sideways, jumping left, jumping right, just being a harder target to hit overall. Now we have our first bit of Omni movement. Black Ops 6 beta has shown a brand new movement engine in Omni movement. As we head into Black Ops 6, these are the movements I want you guys to start practicing. This is going to be sliding backwards. Last year we had the jumping backwards, just like in tip number 3 was jumping backwards. Now it's going to be sliding backwards. Really, really different. Really, really kind of, it's a strange thing to get used to, but once again I want you guys to practice it. Just like the jumping backwards, you create more space for yourself, but this time you're actually, it's a little bit strange because when you slide backwards, not only are you creating space, you're actually going lower, so it's harder for them to track you. So if you can slide backwards in a gunfight, your hitbox will be smaller because you're lower on the screen because you're sliding, and at the same time it's easier for you to hit shots. Just make sure you implement this to one, create space, 2, be a harder target to hit. Really, really impactful, especially because it's new. You'll catch people off guard, so make sure to use this as soon as possible. Now we're going to throw in some combinations for tip number 6. It's going to be the standard slide cancel plus the backwards jump, okay? So before we proceed, I want to talk about the combinations, because I think this year there's going to be a lot of combinations. Now I like to use other comparatives to make it easier, so I want you guys to think of like a fighting game like Tekken, right? I don't really play a lot of fighting games, but when I was younger I did, and there was always combinations, just like in any other kind of fighting game. There's always like combos you can do, and right now I feel like movement and omni movement specifically kind of has that style. So this one is going to be the standard slide cancel plus the backwards jump. Okay, so let's say you do a slide cancel around a corner or forward, then I want you guys to proceed with a backwards jump. So not only are you cameraing them in the first place with the slide cancel, just to kind of remind you guys, the slide cancel is just simply slide and then the jump button, very standard. But once you do that, I now want you to jump backwards. Okay, so basically combining two mechanics, once again making it easier for you to hit them because you creating more space, and it's harder for them to hit you because you're backing away and once again creating that angle. So make sure to utilize this one. It will be a little bit uncomfortable at the start, but I guarantee it will help you guys win more gunfights and once again create space. Once you're weak, you can get the first kill, back away, regen, use a stim, go for a different angle. So make sure to utilize this one. Really important, especially as that Omni movement is going to get more and more broken. You want to be ahead of the curve coming Black Ops 6.
Bro, when you finally learn how to like fully
we have
utilize
the Dolphin dive, but not only the Dolphin dive, we have Dolphin dive into gunfights. This one is a really strange one, but honestly one of my favorite ones of the new game.
Imagine like you just what you're going across your book, Dolphin dive.
I have to say, I think this one is really effective in certain situations. You see a lot of it on, I think, the map Skylight or wherever it's called, where you know there's like a tunnel, there's like a bridge, a tunnel area. You feel like Dolphin diving across. You're seeing a lot of the clips now. It was a really impactful thing. Okay, so I want you guys to start practicing Dolphin diving into gunfights. Now I'm not sure if you can see it here, if I have any clip of the opponent doing it, but there were a lot of times where I got killed from an opponent Dolphin diving, and honestly it's really hard to stop. So if you know where someone is, let's say you got a UAV up, right, and you know he's around the corner, if you can go for that Dolphin dive, my biggest bit of advice would be make sure your crosshair placement, make sure your centering is also tracking the opponent, right? So let's say you're Dolphin diving around the corner, make sure your crosshair is kind of, you're keeping up with your crosshair, so that's an easier kill to get. And you're seeing it in all these clips here. I'm able to Dolphin dive around the corner, reposition, and it's just a really effective way of now shouldering. Okay, Black Ops 6 movement has completely changed. Before I would say, you know, side counter around the corner to shoulder, maybe go for a backwards jump, but I really do believe that the Dolphin dive will take over when you guys are, you know, shouldering around corners. I do think the Dolphin dive will be the priority. So make sure to implement this, make sure to practice it, because when Black Ops 6 comes out, the first day you guys want to be ahead, and this will be a perfect way of getting ahead. Tip number 8. The rest of these tips have been very similar, just different variations, but we now have a sliding sidewards feature. And just like with the Dolphin dive, this is the new Omni movement, and I'm not gonna lie, this one was really fun. The way I like to look at this is like, it's kind of like a Halo dash or like an Advanced Warfare dash. It's a really weird one, but what happens is, just to explain it, when you're standing still, as soon as you move your left stick, right, so let's say you're moving your left stick forward, if you were then to slide, you would slide forward, okay? But if you were to move your left stick left or right, what happens is your body leans in that direction. So let's just say left. Let's just say you lean your body left. If you were then to slide, you essentially dash to the left. We've not had this in previous Call of Duties. So we now have so much more kind of freedom and variable movement where you can now slide forward, backwards, left or right. Make sure to utilize this. Once again, think about it from the enemy's perspective, right? They see you, you're right in front of them. Instead of now standing still or maybe even jumping like the first few tips, you are now sliding left or right. So they have to then track you. Really difficult. And because you're the one sliding to the direction, you know where you're going. It's easier for you to center onto your opponents. So let's say you were to slide left. As you're sliding left, you can move your crosshair more right, so you're always on track with your opponents. Really effective. One thing I would say is try not to slide early. Try to make the opponent make the first move. Let's say they overcommit, then you slide. You basically allow them to make the mistake, and it's a lot easier for you to capitalize and get that kill. But make sure you practice this. Sliding sidewards, really important. You might get yourself killed a few times because you're, you know, prioritizing the slide, but once you get used to it, it'll become more of a reaction. It will simply be a part of your game, just like the drop shot, the standing jump shot. This will be a part of your game. Really important. Make sure to master it. Tip number 8 was sliding sideways in gunfights, but now we're going to talk about sliding sideways to shoulder corners. Just like I mentioned earlier with the Dolphin dive, shouldering corners has completely changed in Black Ops 6. You guys now want to, instead of, you know, sliding around the corner like normal, like a normal slide cancel, you can now slide sideways, okay? So this once again just adds another variable. Let's just say you're going around a corner, you can slide left, jump right. You can do so many combinations, and I do believe it's a little bit quicker than a normal slide cancel, and that's why I like it. So what I was doing when I was playing was, if I thought somebody was around a corner, I would kind of slide out, and what I would try to do is I would try to slide so that I land at just the edge of the wall, right? Because if you slide out too far, they're going to get the kill. But if you slide just at the edge of the wall or just the edge of the corner, you can then get some shots off and back away. Really important. I found a lot of success with it in the beta, just kind of sliding outwards, and I really felt like my opponents weren't really reacting to me, and I do think that cameraing will be a lot easier if you know this mechanic. That's why I left it at number 9, because I feel like once you've done the other ones and you're ready for some more advanced stuff, this one's really important. This one isn't too difficult, but sliding sideways is probably going to be one of the most important things. Just as a side note, whenever a developer has a new mechanic in a game, I feel like they're normally more broken because they want people to test out the new stuff. So I won't be surprised if Omni Movement's incredibly broken this year, and I do believe the sliding sideways will be one of the key components to that. So make sure to try it, and let's move on to tip number 10. That's going to be sliding sideways and jumping in the opposite direction. So just like tip number 8 and 9, sliding sideways is going to be a key component of the Omni Movement, but this time what I want you to do, and I really do believe this will be the meta at the start. I think this and dolphin diving are really going to take over, especially as that skill gap starts to develop and people improve. But what I was doing, and I was just finding myself doing this naturally, was if I was to slide right round a corner, immediately I would jump left, because I just want to mess up their centering, right? I want to really mess up my opponent's centering, and I want to be able to just be unpredictable. So if I was to slide left, I would then jump right. I'll do a bit of a bunny hop. So if you guys can really practice this, again, you're going to try it, you're going to play, you might mess up a little bit because of timings, and that's absolutely fine. But keep practicing it, keep on, you know, working on your momentum, and make sure that when you're sliding outwards, you're also jumping. That way, again, it's just a combination of buttons there. So at this point, you're doing the slide sidewards. Once you land and the opponent's kind of pre-aiming you, you then jump to the area you just came from, and it becomes really, really hard for them to track you. They don't really know where you're going to go, and I really do believe with Omni Movement, the people that get ahead early, like in the beta, they will have more of an advantage in the early game, and I do believe that just kind of carries on throughout the year. That's why I'm making these tutorials. I know it's just a beta, and you know, some people don't really want to sweat already. You know, the beta is just out, it's nothing crazy, but if you can get a feel for it, as soon as the game comes out, you already have that advantage, and hopefully this us in the community can kind of carry that momentum forward, and we're able to proceed and hit that high rank that we didn't hit last year. YouTube, you guys know the drill. Hit a like on the video if you guys enjoyed. Let me know what other beta videos you guys want to see. We have a lot of gameplay, so I don't mind making any specific tutorial for you guys. So let me know down below what beta gameplay you want to see, if there's any new mechanics or anything specific you guys wanted me to go through and cover. I've got you guys. Let me know down below. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Catch you guys for another one tomorrow. Peace.